In today's video, I want to show you how I went about solving exploit number 9, Mimic, found here on the Solidity Challenges repo. You can start by cloning the repo and then opening it up in your editor. I'm over here on the README. It's kind of a fun little one. It states, to whom it may concern, I have identified a serious flaw in your system that grants me the ability to withdraw funds. You have 24 hours to address this vulnerability before I execute my plan and drain the entire balance. Woohoo. All right, they tell us to fix the vulnerability before the deadline. Let's keep in mind this deadline is just self-imposed here in the README. It's not actually in the contract. And then they give us our test command. Over on mimic.sol, we can see that they are importing the access control contract from OpenZeppelin. We have a couple errors in an event. A constant here that actually gives us the hash of the text owner role. So if we want to assign a role, we're going to need that hash. We have a mapping of donations. Okay, so it's a donations contract. And this constructor here simply grants the default role to the deployer. Function-wise, we have a couple. We have a donate, withdraw, refund, and grant role with the receive and fallback at the bottom. So in order to extract funds, we're not going to call donate, we're going to call withdraw. Withdraw should allow the owner to withdraw funds from the contract. And indeed, it is guarded by the owner role. So in order for us to withdraw anything, we're going to have to get around this role. So roles are assigned down here. There is a grant role method, but it states here that it can only be called by the contract owner. But at a closer glance, even though it states that and that's its intent, it is indeed missing that access control. So this makes it possible for anybody to grant any role to any account. That works well for us. This is the vulnerability, and this is what we will exploit. So now knowing this, I'm simply going to pass that role at the top here. That's owner role. I'll pass it down, and with my address, I'll be granted the role. Once we're granted the role, we can call withdraw. Okay, so let's move over to the test. Let's see how that's performed. Here I'm on mimic.t.sol. From the top, yes, we have an instance of our contract. We have our EOA, which is called Challenger. And the contract balance and initial balance are determined. In the setup, they're going to go ahead and deploy the contract, transfer the initial balance to it. Then they deal the Challenger their initial balance. We are the Challenger in this example. A pre-check is ran to determine those balances. And then the test attack is where we're going to exploit the contract. My code is right here, 3 lines of code. I simply, as I stated, I need the role. So I call mimic.ownerRole. I get that hash. I apply it to the grant role method along with my address. Now that I've granted myself the role, I can go ahead and withdraw. We have 2 assertions. One that will check that the challenger's balance is indeed the expected balance, and that expected balance is simply the initial balance plus the contract balance. Finally, we will check that the Mimic contract has 0 funds. All right, so let's see that in action by running it over in the terminal. I've already preloaded the command. So the tests have passed, and let's go through them one more time from the top. You'll see here we have our test attack where we do call owner role. We get that role hash. We apply it to the grant role method along with our account, and the role is granted. We then call withdraw, and here it's going to send us the funds. But then a funny thing, actually a little bug in the code that was noticed, is that it calls donated. So the emission is actually on the wrong on the wrong function. So nonetheless, we'll ignore that. We jump down to our assertions. We wanted to assert that the challenger's balance is indeed the contract balance plus his starting balance, and you can see that that's true. And finally, we assert that the contract, the Mimic contract, has a 0 balance. So that was my approach to the Mimic contract. If you had a different approach, I'd love to hear it. Or if you simply want to discuss my approach, feel free to grab my contact information in the video details below. See you in the next one.